Hey, today we're going to talk about our sleep product, Hit the Rack, and why each ingredient was chosen and what each ingredient does. And so to start, we have vitamin D. Vitamin D is really important. Vitamin D is synthesized through sunlight through the skin, and so we evolved essentially as naked people, hundreds of thousands of years ago, where we were constantly bombarded with sunlight to produce that. Well, in modern society, especially in northern climates, we don't get that at all anymore. And so people in America and all northern climates are typically chronically low in vitamin D. And low vitamin D has been linked to insomnia, depression, anxiety disorders. It's involved, vitamin D itself is involved in the pathway of melatonin production. So it's a real important product, and it's something that regardless of this product, everyone in North America should probably be supplementing with it. The next is magnesium. And magnesium, the same thing, has been shown to be effective in reducing insomnia. And even more importantly, low magnesium levels is shown across the board to be linked with longer durations to sleep latency, longer duration to fall in sleep, self-reported cases of insomnia, waking up during sleep, and poor sleep quality. The next is selenium. And so a recent study, which is kind of interesting, showed that selenium was actually associated with a 20% lower risk of difficulty in falling asleep. So when selenium was supplemented in the diet before bed, there's a 20% lower risk of extended sleep latency, which is basically how long it takes to fall asleep. And the next is potassium citrate. And just like vitamin D, it's another, or even magnesium, it's another mineral that when you're low in potassium levels, it's linked with insomnia. And so we just want a little bit in there just to kind of fight against that. And the next is acetyl L-carnitine. We've talked about that. This is another product. It improves mood, lowers rates of depression. It causes relaxation. It's been shown to reduce tissue damage in some cancers. It's just an all-around great product. You can't really overdose on it, and it kind of just works for everything. The next is holy basil. Now, holy basil has been shown to help maintain normal circadian rhythms. And why is that important? Well, a couple things. One, we have terrible circadian rhythms. We don't go by night and day. We stay up late in the night. We wake up when it's dark. We don't have this rhythm, this natural rhythm that our body's supposed to have. Even worse is when it is dark, we're on our phones or our screen showing that blue light right in front of our face all day long. So there's nothing in our body to signify that there's a natural sleep and wake cycle. We've completely erased that. Holy basil fights against that. The next is lion's mane, which you've seen in a lot of products. It's a nootropic. Nootropic meaning it helps improve brain function or memory processes or things like that. It's also anxiolytic. It's anti-anxiety. So it kind of produces a nice calming effect before bed, which is one of the big things, because the problems people have with sleep is, there's manyfold. There's low in minerals that are linked to insomnia, like the vitamin D, the magnesium, the selenium, potassium citrate. We don't have a good circadian rhythm because everything we do in our life is kind of against that. We don't have a natural sleep-wake cycle with the sun and the night, and then at night we're laying there with our phone reading about all the disasters of modern society, and so our anxiety rates are through the roof. The next one is a big one, ashwagandha. It's a gamma mimetic. And this is important because it's been shown to promote the formation of dendrites. So I'm going to show kind of how neurotransmitters work. Because in this product, the rest of the list, we're going to have a lot of things talking about neurotransmitters and GABA and what they actually are. And so I'll show. So what happens is on a nerve, you have a nerve that goes like this, and it goes to kind of a synapse. And this is the nerve here. There's actually these fatty sheaths on the nerve called myelin sheaths. And something interesting is the electrical signal travels through here, but it doesn't actually travel through the nerve. It actually jumps from myelin sheath to myelin sheath, and that's actually faster than traveling through the nerve. It's kind of an interesting evolutionary process. Now, multiple sclerosis, that's what happens is these myelin sheaths just go away, and so the electrical signal isn't able to take that shortcut jumping along the myelin sheaths. and it has to travel across the nerve actually, which slows it down, and that's kind of the fundamental problem with multiple sclerosis. How does this relate to neurotransmitters? Well, when the electrical signal gets here to the synapse, there's neurotransmitters here that go through the dendrites. And there'll be another synapse here for another nerve. And this space here is called the synaptic cleft. And so neurotransmitters get released into here, and then they get picked up here, converted into another electrical signal, which travels down that nerve. And that's how signals pass through the body. So you have an electrical signal jumping along the myelin sheath, reaches the synapse, turns into a chemical signal where the neurotransmitters get released into the synaptic cleft and picked up by the next synapse. Now, some of the way drugs work, like a antidepressant, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, what that'll do is, so serotonin will sit in the space here, and if it isn't picked up here immediately, this synapse will draw it back in. That's the reuptake. So SSRIs will inhibit that reuptake process, which will keep the serotonin in the space longer and increase the amount that get sent to the next nerve signal. Why is this important? Because the increase in dendrites means there's more efficiency to allow neurotransmitters to pass from nerve to nerve. And that's what the ashwagandha does. It works on GABA, but it's been shown to promote the formation of dendrites. And then actually in a recent randomized double-blind study, it showed that there was a significantly shorter time to fall asleep, a significantly shorter sleep latency in test subjects at week 10 supplementing with ashwagandha compared to baseline. And so this is very important because these neurotransmitters and these dendrites are going to come into play with later on. So the next product we have is valerian root. It's an anxiolytic, anti-anxiety. It's got sedative effects. It also binds to GABA receptors. Now, they don't really know the exact mechanism of it. They know that it binds to GABA receptors. And there's been, valerian root's been a standard sleep medication for forever. And so that's the pathway somehow that's being utilized. And the next one is actually GABA, this main inhibitory neurotransmitter. So GABA is kind of the main inhibitory, sleep, relaxation neurotransmitter in the brain for this process. So we've got the ashwagandha that increases the dendrites, promotes dendrite growth, it works through GABA. We got the valerian root that binds to GABA receptors, and then we actually have the GABA as well. Now, until they used to think that GABA didn't cross the blood-brain barrier, but studies that kind of tried to show that were often contradictory, and they didn't have results that could be reproduced every time by other studies. So the current data suggests that GABA does actually cross the blood-brain barrier when taken orally. Now, that may change, but all you can do is go with the current data. And certainly the current data, both pharmacokinetically and what subjects report, GABA does seem to work. And then the next product we have is called Lycopene. Just like the vitamin D, the magnesium, selenium, diets low in lycopene have been associated with insomnia. And the North American diet typically tends to be lower in lycopene. I think tomatoes are really high in lycopene, but just typically our diet, where we aren't huge vegetable consumers, tends to be low in lycopene, and low lycopene is linked with insomnia. And finally, melatonin, which is melatonin is naturally produced in dark situations and not produced inhibited in light situations. We don't have dark anymore. We have light pollution. I mean, anyone who's even gone out in the country and looked up at the sky, there's still parts, like in Montana and things like that, where you can still see the Milky Way if you look up. Most of us, even if we live in the country, there's still so much light pollution that we can't even see the Milky Way anymore. Just whatever, maybe 8,000 stars in the night sky. Well, add to that the fact that we have lights in our home, we're in front of our phone or our TV right before bed. Our production of melatonin is completely not regulated like it should be. And that's what regulates circadian rhythm. So we added that as well, 3 milligrams. And so we got everything that works through the pathways that are both blunted or stunted by the typical North American diet and North American climate and the North American lifestyle, and then as well as things that directly promote sleep. So we have things that actually act on GABA, the main inhibitory neurotransmitter, things that help promote the functionality of GABA through the dendrite promotion. We have things that reduce anxiety. We have things that fight the common cases where low levels of it in North American diets are linked with insomnia. And then we actually have the GABA itself. So kind of all the main ways that are negatively affect sleep are covered with this product. Now, the problem with when people take sleep medications is they look for something to just knock them out. Well, knocking them out means you artificially stunt, whatever stimulatory processes are going on in the brain enough to make you fall asleep. That doesn't mean you're going to sleep well. Didn't intend to talk about this, but there's the brain waves of beta, alpha, theta, just do T, and delta. Beta is like you're hyper, when you're widely awake. Me right now, drink too much coffee, trying to do these videos. Alpha is when you're not sleeping, but you're kind of drowsy. And then theta is your first sleep, and then delta is your deep sleep waves. This is our problem. So what we do is, sleep medications, prescriptive medications typically is you're in beta waves, and you try to jump right to theta waves by basically killing and jumping the alpha case. Well, that's not a smooth transition. And you're not going to stay in good sleep there. You're not going to get the REM sleep. You're not going to drift into good delta sleep. You're going to wake up too often. What we need to do is promote this calming, anxiolytic relaxation state where the body naturally produces melatonin, naturally falls into sleep, and that's what these products all do. And so, of all the products we have, as far as lifestyle, I think people are going to hit the rack the most. I've used it every single day since we got our first samples of it. I absolutely love it. A lot of bodybuilders struggle with sleep apnea. A lot of bodybuilders, because of various fat burner use, stimulant use, other supplement use, have difficulty falling asleep, difficulty staying asleep. This product works on every pathway to maximize that smooth transition to sleep and keep you sleeping.